And hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. Okay, so today we will be focusing on building an application in Python that is similar to this. Let's just open my terminal, and if we just type GUI, then if we run it, then as you can see it can just calculate the distance between two places. This can actually be a street, and this can also be a street, so you know it can be from an entire continent probably, I think, and street, and you know it's up to you, and then you can calculate. And here it gives it in kilometers, but if you are not someone who lives in normal places, you can go to mile or something and you can recalculate it, and it will give you like this. If you go to Google and you search up the distance between these two, they will be relatively close, and we'll be talking about why they're not exactly the same, but why it's still relevant. So yeah, now to create this project, you don't actually need anything except here's an image folder, and inside of the image folder you have an help. You should have a help.jpg or png, which is, if we go to properties, I made it so it is 100 by 100 pixels. You can make it bigger or smaller however you wish, because this size doesn't matter too much, but I do recommend that the width and height should be the same size, but you know it's optional anyways. And yeah, then we can start creating everything. So I'm going to close this because I don't need this, and then I'm going to go here, cd back out of this, and I'm going to create a folder, mkdir, and I'm going to call it yt. I'm going to cd into yt and make another directory and call it, let's see, distance in Python. I'm going to cd into distance in Python. If you don't use the terminal, it's fine, you can just use your file manager, but I find it quite slow, so I don't like it. And then if we Alice, there's nothing in here. But now that I think about it, Nemo and then if we go here, we open up Nemo, we can go to fun, and just inside of the distance calculator we can just copy the images folder, because that has our image in it and we want it inside here. Okay, now the image is there, we can close this. What we can do now is we can just clear the terminal, or not really. So we can now create two files. Now the first one, we're just going to use touch. The first one you can either call main or GUI. I call mine GUI because I don't know why, but I'm going to keep it as GUI. Let's call it main. Now let's keep it as GUI, because this is where all the GUI stuff is going to go in. So we're going to use Tkinter, and all of the GUI is going to go in there, and we want it to kind of stay like that. We can maybe later on move it to main or something. And then you want one called functions.py. This is a bunch of extra functions because we kind of want to split the GUI and the functions into two separate files. Anyway, so then we can touch them with Alice, then it's right there. So I'm going to open up Vim. You can use Sublime Text or whatever you want. I'm going to open up GUI.py. But wait, let me just... Okay, so first thing you want is you want Tkinter. So pip3 install, or pip, not pip3, depending on what operating system you have and stuff, and Python and all of that. And you want to install Tkinter, or is it Tkinter or Tkinter? Just mess around with the casing or Google it. I can remember how I installed it all those months ago. And then after you've installed that, you need to install GeoPy. This is what we're going to use to calculate the distance between everything. And yeah, if you want to make an executable, you can also install PyInstaller. But this is optional. I'm not going to use it in this video, but you can use it if you want. So you need those three things, or two things installed actually. And in fact, I also think you need pill. So pip3 install. This is only if you're going to use an image. If you're not going to use any images in your application, you don't need to install pill. I think it's that. Anyways, so then we can finally start coding, and we can open up GUI.py. Now, first thing we want to do is we want to import Tkinter, and yeah, so from Tkinter import, and we just want to import everything, and then from we don't have to do this one yet. Now you're going to go from pill import, and we only need image, tk, and image. That's all we need. Then we want to create our root, which is just tk, and after we create our root, we can go root.main loop to make sure everything works. And let's save this. So let me just roll, and then we can go python 3 and GeoPy. We run this, yeah, we do get a small window. I'm just going to create another. Will open up in it? Yes, it will. Okay, and I'm just going to python 3 GUI. I'm just going to keep that there so I don't have to exit Vim each time. So then we can open up Vim again and with GUI.py in it. Okay, and now we can start customizing it. So first thing we want to do is we want to give it a title. So root.title, and we want to call it dister, or you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it dister. This will basically just give the application a title on the top. So here this one is Audacity. Anyways, so then we can call it dister, and then we want to say root.resizable. This is optional. If you want to say make resizable false, so then you can just go false. But this is truly optional. If you don't want the window to be resized, then you can use this. If you want the window to be able to resize, then you can do it. We can just call this like setup, because we're just setting up everything. And here we can go metrics. Now this is all the metrics they will be able to use. You can like make it into kilometers and meters, or miles and foot, or all four. So I'm going to use all four. So I'm just going to go kilometer, meter, mile, and then foot. And after you have done that, we can just go to the next line and say def val. Now this will come in later on, but for right now, just know that this is for the drop down menu, because we're going to have a drop down menu and it should have a default value. So this is optional, but I highly recommend that you put it here. So we can just go string var, and we can say here root, and then def val.set, and we can just say metrics and index 0. Basically this will make the default value, this kilometers, be there at the start of the drop down menu. And then we can start creating all of the components. So here we can just say create all components. You just want to save this and go back in. Whoops. Okay, so then we want to create a label, and we want to call this title. Now the label title is optional as well. All the labels are theoretically optional if you think about it. But anyways, so then you can go label and say root, and make the text whatever you want. I'm going to make the text equal to dister, and get the distance. You can just make it dister if you want, or you don't even need it. This is truly optional. And then we can just add, to give it padding, we can add spaces here, because expanding on other ways it's just overkill. Then BG, and we can make this whichever color we want. This will change the background color of the title. So I'm going to make mine red. You can change it to whichever color you want, but I'm going to keep it at red. And then we want another label, LBL location 1, because it's going to be the label that tells them to insert location 1. Then we're going to go label, and we're going to put it to root, text equals location 1. Location 1, and then we can just say pad y equals 10. And then we can actually copy this if you think about it. If I exit here and I say YY, I believe, and then if I press P, yes, there it goes. I'm still new, that's why I'm trying to learn it, so excuse me if I'm a little bit slow. Anyways, so then we can just change this to location 2 and location 2, and you can actually keep the padding the same. Then we can create an edit, so it's EDT location, and we can go location 1, and then we can go entry equals entry. Now entry is just an input, and then we can just say root, and then EDT location 2 equals entry root, and then we can create our combo box or drop down box, which I'm going to call CMB, because combo box metric, and we just equal this to option menu, and we can add it to root default val, because that's what we did right up here, we said default val. And then after that we can just go star metrics. This will basically reference all of this inside here as the options you can choose from, and then we can just say command equal set measure, which we will create later on, but for right now we are not going to create it just yet, because we're going to create this in the functions place. And then I'm just going to save, and I'm going to go back in. I'm going to, oh gosh, okay. Then we actually want to create another label, and we want to make this LBL answer, and this is a label, and we want to add it to root and make the text equal to answer. The text is optional, you don't need to add an answer text in here. And then relief is equal to sunken. Now this is also optional, I just think it makes it look a lot better if you make the relief sunken. And then width equals to 20. I highly recommend you play with some of these if you don't know what they do. Just remove them and see what happens if you remove them. Then btn calculate, and this is going to calculate the distance between everything, and we can make it a button, and there's going to be a lot of things that go in here, so I'm just going to start typing here as root, and then text equals calculate, and then we can just maybe get to the next line or something, because now things are going to get very long. Command, and that's going to equal lambda, and we want to say calc distance for calculate distance, and then edt location 1.get. They're going to get the text from location 1. Or let's do the command last, because I think this will actually give us an error if we try to run it, and there's no command to actually run. So let's do the commands last. So then we can actually remove this command as well, so we don't get any errors. We can add those commands later. And then we want to add our image. So we can go image. There's going to be one image, and I'm not going to name it specially. And we can say image tk dot photo image and image dot open images slash help dot jpeg. This was the image I showed you before, and then we can just close this dot resize. Now this is why I say the size doesn't really matter, because we're going to resize it anyways to 20 by 20. and then we can just close this. You just have to make this, because it's a set, to do this so it's inside of brackets, and then we can go image help, and we can just create a button which they can click. The help image and the help button, it is completely optional. Actually, there should be btn help, btn, no, go away, btn help, and we can just say equals button, and then it's attached to root, and in the image on the button will be image, and then we don't have to give a command just yet. So I'm just going to save this, take a quick breather, and then we can start placing all the components. So here we can say place all components, because this is where we're going to place all the components, quite literally. We can just give ourselves a little bit of extra space here at the bottom, and then we can start placing components. So then we can go lbl title dot grid is, or wait, let's first make sure everything runs, because if something doesn't run, then we know something's wrong. Excuse any spelling mistakes, please. Anyways, and then we can just try it again. Okay, as you can see, there's this there, nothing's being displayed, but we have our screen and it works perfectly. That means we can continue coding, because now there's no problem. Anyways, we can go I, and here we can say lbl title dot grid, and we say row equals 0, and then column equals 0, and then column span equals 4, because it's basically going to make sure everything in the grid is sized up to the perfect size. Depending on what you made this right here, and where is it now? This right here, the resizable false, and the size of the image, this right here may change, so just take that as note. Anyways, so then we can go lbl location 1 dot grid, and we can attach it to the grid where it's row at 1 and column at 0. Now this is actually basically going to be copied and pasted a lot of times, so I am going to just YY and then P, and then we can go back into insert mode, and we can just edit everything here. The grid 2, it's at row 1, it's at row 2, excuse me. Let me rather do this, because otherwise I'm just going to get confused as hell. EDT location 1 dot grid, that will be at row 1, and column equals 1, because it's going to be next to the label, and then we can go column span equals 2, because it has to span over 2 columns. The column span you'll need to change depending on the width and size of the screen, of the window and stuff like that. So this is highly dependable on what you specifically choose to do. And yeah, that's basically all of the styling. So let's just save this and run it just to make sure everything can be displayed and it doesn't do anything wrong. As you can see, there's the title, location, here is your drop down list, There's a calculate button, there's the help button. None of them does anything yet. Here we can put in text and stuff like that. Yeah, and here will the answer be displayed. If you don't say sunken, this wouldn't be here. That beautiful, you know, beautiful sunken styling. I don't know how to describe that. But yeah, so yeah, let us continue. So the next part won't be as much of like placing it, but it will be like configuring the components. So we can go, oh whoops, there, configure components. So this is also optional, but I found it to make everything just look so much better. So lbl title dot configure, and we want to change the font to, let's say, sans serif. So we can go in here and we say no, go back, and we say sans serif, and then we want to change the size to 20. Then there's lbl location 1 dot configure, and we want to change the font to optional space and the size to 15. Close that off. Then you want to copy this and just paste. Oh, whoopsie. And then we'll go back to insert, say location 2, and do the same there. And then the next is just extra, actually also part of configure components, but if you don't want to put it there, you don't have to put it there. I just feel like it's not necessary to put it in configure components. I feel it's good enough to be in its own little block. So we can go edt location 1 dot insert, and we're going to put some default text in there. You could probably also do this at the top where we declared it, but I'm not sure, so I'm just going to use insert 0, and I'm going to use Cape Town. And then we can go edt location 2 dot insert at the index 0, and we can say Tokayo. And for now, that should be fine. So we can go and save this, and if we display it now, font, I didn't put an equal there, my bad. So we just go and put an equal right there, and just write that, go back here, and as you can see, it looks a lot better than what it did look. And yeah, now there's Cape Town and Tokyo. Okay. And right now we will be going to the functions. So we have already created a functions.py file, so we can just open it. But we go here and then we can exit Vim for now. So and then we go Vim, and we can say functions.py. And then we need to import a few things. So first, from, oh gosh, what do I do now? From, and then GeoPy, and import, and we want to import specifically nominatum, and then from, not GeoPy, we actually need to specify what we want to get from. GeoPy.geocoders, if I'm not mistaken, and then we can just go here and say from GeoPy.distance import great circle. Now this is basically what we're going to use in order to calculate the distance using the great circle method. And then from Tkinter we want to import specifically label and message box. Okay, now here as a global variable we want to put measure and then the default measure that you added. So if you start up the application, so let's quickly start up. If we boot up the application, my default is kilometer. So you want to put your default here. So I'm just going to go kilometer, and then we want to define a function called set measure, and it's going to take an event. So then we want to go in the previous previous file. That's the word I was looking for. Then go global measure, and we want to make measure equal to event. Now you don't need to call this event. You can actually like call it m or measure or whatever, but I liked to call it event. And then we can continue to create our next few functions. Then we can create a def calc distance, so this will calculate the distance, and we want to get place 1 and place, you can also call this location or whatever you want. I felt place was the best. And then you want to take in the label that should be modified, which is the answer label, and then root, because we are going to import root, and I forgot to add a little something there. Okay, and now we're perfect. And we can go and get global measure, and we want to say geolocator is equal to nominatum, and we want to say user underscore agent is equal to dister. I think this is optional, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not actually even sure why you use this, but you know, it's fine for now. Then location, location, yes, location 1 is equal to geolocator dot geocode. I'm going to say place 1. I'm going to explain a lot of this later, but for right now, just bear with me, please. And then location 2 equals geolocator dot geocode place 2. And then we need to use a try and except block, because if we don't, we're gonna suffer, because people might insert or something wrong might happen. Because let's say they insert an invalid location, such as Agoshada. I don't think there's a location like that. Let's say they insert that. Now, what if it doesn't find it? Then it's going to throw an error, and we don't want the users to see that error. So we're going to catch that error if they do that. So we can go location 1, and we can just say inside of thingies, because it's set location 1 dot latitude, I think. Is that how you spell latitude? I'm not quite sure. And then we want to say location 1 dot longitude, I think. I'm not sure, to be honest. But anyways, this just basically inputs inside of a set location 1 and as longitude and latitude. If you know geography, you know it's like how much south and how much north and stuff like that. It's very confusing. Anyway, then we have location 2, which is equal to location 2 dot latitude and location 2 dot longitude. Why is the one longer than the other one? Did I do something wrong? Latitude. Okay, let's hope that's correct, because if it's not, we're going to get error messages, which I don't want. Then accept. We don't just want to say accept, we want to accept something specific, because otherwise it's just going to catch everything. Attribute error as E. You don't actually have to use as E, probably. And then we can go message box dot show error roar, and we import a message box right up here. Anyways, dot show error, because we are going to show an error. And then we want to say no location found. So no location found. This will be at the top of the message box. And then the actual message inside of the message box would say, please check your locations, one or both could not be found, dot 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 dot. And then you want to exit everything, return. And this wouldn't exit the entire application. This will just stop this function, because we want this function to stop as soon as it hits return, you know. And now we can say if measure is equal to kilometer, then we can make it say distance is equal to the great circle, and we want to say location 1 and location 2 dot km. Km will just basically return the kilometer. And then we can go down here and say distance is then equal to, you can obviously put this in another variable if you want, I just didn't. And we can say distance is equal to, and then in quotation marks we can format it, because it's going to return a entirely long number which we don't need. So I'm just going to say copy and then 2f. So it's going to round it down to 2 decimal places. And you can say dot format and then distance plus, and then we want to add a space kilometer. Okay, and then we're going to check else if it's meters and whatnot. So I'm just going to go here, just write that, and then I'm going to say let's say 2y, and then I'm going to say O, and we basically want to say LF, and then we want to paste it here, so we can go P. We're going to modify LF, so we can go into insert mode and say else if measure is equal to meter, then we should say distance equals great circle and whatnot, but this time we should say dot m, and here we should say m. Also, this space isn't necessary, I just add the space here because I think it looks better. Anyways, then you can just exit that. I'm going to make a few extra spaces because I'm running out of space here. That's a lot better. Anyways, and then we can just from here we can say free and just copy that, and then here we can say pp, whoopsie, we can say undo that, and we can say p, and yeah, we only have 4, which actually means we only need one else if actually, so we can undo that, and in here we can say else if, and then instead of meter we go mile, and in here we can go mi. Now of course you can also go mile, or here you can go meters, meters, I can remember. But anyways, but I'll just use mi, am, km because it's easier to remember. And then here we can also go mi, and then I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go back into insert mode. I'm going to say else. We want to paste this here, and we want to change this instead of miles because there's only one left. We can go ft for foot, and then ft, and close that off. Oh gosh, this is so much to just take in, you know. And then we want to manipulate the label that we brought in before, and we say label is equal to label, and we want to just say root because we also took in root, and then text is equal to distance that we basically just did right here, and then we can say width is equal to 20. Width is also optional, but I like to make it 20. And then we have to snap it to the grid, so lbl.grid, and we can just say row is equal to 4, and column is equal to 0, and then column span is equal to 3, and pad y is equal to 10. Okay, now let's quickly try this, you know, and just write that. Because we just used a set measure and they calculate distance. Now let's first try this before we continue with anything else. So we can just WQ and then open up VMGUI. Then we want to place the calculate and the measures into their respective places up here. So here's calculate and here's measures. So we can just say I, and we can say right after metric we can say command is equal to set measure, and then here at calculate we can say comma, and I'm going to go to the next line. I'm going to say command is equal to lambda, and we can say calc distance and edt location dot location1 dot get, so it gets the text from location 1, and then edt location 2 dot get, so it gets location from location 2, and then we can go lbl answer because this is where it has to paste the answer, and then root because it's going to have to put everything in root. Anyways, then after we have done that, then it should theoretically run. So you can just say w, save that, go here to distance, and we can Python that. Line 23, there's invalid syntax. Where is line 23? This doesn't have lines. But where is image? Here. Oh, I see what's wrong. So let's insert here, and we can just go here, and maybe, just maybe, we can do this. Maybe that will save us. And also, we have to import our beautiful functions. So right above pill or below pill, I like to go right above pill. From functions, import star. Anyways, then we can just write this and go to distance and just try again. Invalid syntax error, that's gonna be okay, fine. Wanna be not nice with me, Python? Fine. we will make this one line. How about that? Doesn't that look disgusting? And then let us try again. I don't know what's wrong. Okay, so it says B10 calculate button, and we say command equals lambda calc distance, and then inside of brackets I missed one because it's a button, so it should have two. Oh, sorry, Python, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I should have known that. Boom, okay. So now there's two. Now if I run it, it should work. Please, work. No module named functions. Well, that's a massive lie, Alice. Oh, that's functions, not functions. Oh gosh, all my typos. It is the most annoying thing possible. Functions. Then write that. And let's try it again. Okay, now we get to the real good stuff. Oh, place one. Oh, why didn't I do that? Okay, so WQ, and we can just go from functions, and right here we can start fixing all of our problems we're going to see from here. Then we can say W right. Now if we run it, it works. Okay, so here it's Cape Town, Tokyo. If we say calculate, then it didn't format it, but it did calculate the distance. Let's say mile. And there it calculates mile. Now why did it not format it? That's my question. Let's go back here and see why it did not format. Let me see. Oh, you know what? Another beautiful typo by the one and only guy that can make 5 billion typos at once after freaking doing this 3 times just to get everything perfectly correct for the video. My gosh. Now the calculator is going to be rounded. Yes. Now let's check how legit this is. Let's say distance between Cape Town and Tokyo. 14,729. 14,738. Now there is a good reason why it's a little off, and I'm going to show you later on why it's a little off. But anyways, we can also change it to like mile if you want, and then boom, we get a big alter there. And also take note that this can be something like A and you'd still get an answer, because this takes the most relevant option you have. So if I'm going to say something like 123 street, there may be 10 123 streets in the entire world, and there was actually a 123 streets, and that is why it's going to be like, hey, let's just take the one that's the most relevant, you know. So it's going to take the first one it sees. So if I put my home address in here, then I should, to make it the most accurate, I should put address, and then after that I should say Cape Town, and then South Africa, and then yeah, I'm just not going to put my actual address in here, but anyways, so yeah. And if you go CA, then beautiful 47. Anyways, so let's finish up coding everything. Now let's actually run this again. Now one thing you'll notice, if you're here and you press Ctrl A, it goes to beginning. But when you press Ctrl A, you actually want to select everything so you can remove it. So you want to be able to do that. If you press Ctrl A, it just goes to beginning. So we want to change that. So to change that, we actually have to go to I'm going to explain how all of this works. Just give me a second. I just want to finish up doing everything. But anyways, so then we can go double Q, and we can go GUI, and then at the bottom of the GUI, way at the bottom, we can add a callback function. So here we can say O, and then we can say edt location 1.bind, because we're going to bind the key to it. And then in quotation marks we can say control dash A. So it will be control and A because you want to select everything, right? And then we can say lambda E, and inside E we want to say call back, and we say E, and you want to pass in root as well. And we say edt, or actually we can copy this because it's basically the same thing. So we can just YY and P, and we can insert, change this to 2, and then we basically have everything we need here. Now this won't fix it, so we have to say WQ, and then we can go back to functions, and here inside functions we can create a function to actually work with that. So let's go right up to the top and below set measure, or above set measure. I don't know, I just like having it below set measure. And then right here we can say define a function called callback, and we want to say it takes an event, or E, whichever floats your boat, and root. And then right here we can say root dot after, and we want to say 50 select all. Delete, we don't want delete, we want to say select all. And then we want to say event dot widget. And then now if we just W, and if we go back into Python and we Control A, we get an error. That's perfect. I love getting errors. No, I don't. So what did we get wrong? Select all. There's something wrong here, they say. You know what? I forgot. Select all is actually a function. So then define, and we have to go select all, and then widget, and we have to create a function for select all. So then we want to go widget dot select range, and we want to say 0 until 0 until end, and then widget dot cursor is end there, because that gets the cursor at the end. And now if we save this and we run our beautiful Python code and we say Control A, it selects everything, and we can just do that. That's a nice trick that you have if you want to, do it in Python. And then we also have an help button. So if we run this game, you see we have a help button. Now basically, I'm not going to put too much effort inside of the help button because it's truly not at want to right now. Anyways, so then we can just go into insert, and we can say diff, and we can say give help, and we can just say message box dot show info, and here we can say help, and then here is some help info, and we can then write this. So that's my help button, and then we can actually quit this, now I think about it, and we can go to GUI and we can actually implement it. So then we can just go up all the way to where the image has been declared, BT and help. There's BT and help. and we can just do something such as command, and we can say is equal to, was it give help, and then we can just W that, and now if we run it, we get our beautiful help. There is some help info, and if we do this, we're going to get an error because there's no such location. Please check your location, or both. One or both cannot be found. And if we remove this and we say calculate, I don't know if it actually got that. Ah, there we go. Now if we look here, boom, as you can see, 14, 7, 38, 7, 29. Now let's find, let me explain things and let us find out. So here I can actually go to cd dot dot slash dot dot slash, and I can go to calculate distance between two cities, and then I'm going to open up with Sublime Text because I'm kind of tired of Vim now. I'm going to open up old.py because this will help us explain. So here I imported both the nominatum and great circle. So here it's this doesn't really matter. Now, okay, so here I imported the nominatum and great circle, and then this doesn't really matter right now. And here we say location.geolocation.geocode Cape Town, and then we say print location latitude longitude. Now this is really confusing, right? So let's just open up this link I got right here, and let us go visit that. Now here's the documentation for the GeoPy library I imported and stuff. So here it basically tells you everything it does. So here it says you can use your address, like right here, and you can use your address to do all that stuff, and measuring details and how everything works. So if you want more information, go check there. But also this just basically gets you the latitude, and this gets you the longitude. So let's actually display this. So we can go Python 3 old.py, and then it's going to say -33 what not, and then 18. Now why is this significant to the entire thing we had last time? Because let's go here, coordinates of Cape Town. Here we go. Now look at the coordinates here, and now look at the coordinates here. So this one is 33, 92, 49, and ignore the negative sign there. 33, 92, 89, and then 18, 42, 41, 18, 41, 73. Now it might be a very small difference, but that difference is what gives us the little bit of difference in the distance between two locations. So this is why Google's location and our location is different. But anyways, so let's open up this file right here so I can explain things. And I'm tired of them really, so I'm going to use Sublime Text. I'm going to say GUI and function so I can explain everything now. Okay, so in GUI we just imported Tkinter, which this gives us all of the beautiful displays and stuff we can use. So we can use labels and entries and stuff like that. Functions is what we created, and pill is so we can use images with a .jpeg and png extension. Then we created root or tk, and we set the root title to dister. So if we go here and we run Python 3 and we say GUI.py, then you see dister right there, as we did there, and it can't be resized, so I should really not stop it. Then if we go here, as you can see, I cannot resize it there, or here at the side, or here, like I can do with, for example, my terminal. If I just get that right location, I can resize it. So yeah, you cannot do that because we set it to false, and now it's the wrong width. That's really annoying. Anyways, and then we have our metrics. So the metrics will be displayed here: meter, kilometer, mile, footer, or not footer, foot. And then we have default value, which is right here. That's the default value. because here we set it, and in here we can go here. Then we have our LBL title, which is right here. That's why I said you can, like, you don't even need this. This is completely optional. You have location 1 and location 2, which is this right here, and then you have your 2 entries with both locations inside of it. Here you have your CMB metric, which is this. You have your LBL answer, which is this right here, the label answer. So we can calculate, and the answer and stuff in here will change. Also, as you can see, we don't have that sunken look anymore. If you want that sunken look, you can just add the sunken. Where did we put the sunken in? It should be, where's the LBL answer? Here, sunken. You can just take this, and where you create it right here, you can just put it here. Then we'll put the sunken back. But anyways, then you have your BTN calculate, which is the calculate button, and your image, which is the image right there, and then BTN help, and the image is on the button. And if you click there, you know. Then you grid everything. So this is basically self-explanatory. It starts at grid 0, moves all the way up to grid 4, and then it has column from column 0 all the way to column 3, or is it to column 2, but it has a call span of 4. And then here you just basically set the font so it looks better. And here you insert text here by default, so you don't need this. You can remove this. If you remove this, then there won't be a Cape Town or a Tokyo text in here. And then you can bind Ctrl A keys, so you can use Ctrl A like this. And this is completely optional. I just did this because I don't like if you can't press Ctrl A and you have to delete everything. Because if you have a really long address in here, then that's going to be very annoying. So you want to Ctrl A and just remove all of that. Then the main loop just loops the program, make sure it keeps on running. Then right here we import nominatum and grid circle. Nominatum allows us to get location and stuff like that, and grid circle can locate with the grid circle method the distance between 2 locations. You can read more about this on, I think, Wikipedia or something, so I'm not going to go too big on grid circle. Then you have Tkinter, which we're just importing the label and the message box because that's all we need right now, and we put our default measure to kilometers. Then set measure, so if we go here, then we set the measure, so let's say mile for example. Then it sets the global measure here to mile, so that's why if we click calculate, now it changes to mile. Then we have our callback, so we can press Ctrl A. Then we have for select all, which goes into callback. And then here we say calc distance, so this is the main program here. This is basically the background. So then we get measure, which is whatever is in here. So if we put it kilometers, it's going to be kilometers. And then we say nominatum, and we just basically, I think this is like creating an app. I don't really know what nominatum does, and I don't really need to know. But, you know, it's user agent, I have no idea. It's probably like, I don't know. Then ask me. And then we have location 1, which is geolocator.geocode, place 1. And location 2, geolocator.geocode. We can actually go to this site right here, and we can paste the site right in here. Now basically, as you can see here, location of address, this basically just sets things for you. So, you know, it just sets it. So if we print out the address of that specific place, it will basically print out everything it has on it. So if I'm going to put in my location in here, it's going to print out everything it knows about my location. It knows in Cape Town, it knows in South Africa, it knows, I think, what street it is, it knows it's in the African continent and whatnot. So yeah, that's all that basically does. And then let's go back here. And we put place 1, which is Cape Town, and then Tokyo. And in here we have location 1, then we get the latitude and the longitude, and we put it inside of a set, and you get latitude and longitude of location 2. Then we try and catch an attribute error. If the attribute error is caught, then it just says, hey, we could not find that location, so please do something better with your life. And then it says measure, if the measure is kilometer, which is basically right here, we got that from the global measure. So if it's kilometers, then it's going to format it as kilometers and display it as kilometers. And it's probably a much better way to do this entire thing than what I did it. But I literally started learning Python like 2-3 weeks ago, so I can't really help it. Then we have label is equal to label, and then there's basically the label we imported, which is label answer right here. And then here we just change everything here, and then give help is just the help button. And that's basically everything here. If you want to know more about this entire GeoPy thing, feel free to go check out this link. It should be in the description probably. And I also have a GitHub page with it in, so if you want, you can go visit my GitHub page. I'll probably link it in the description, and you can go check it out on GitHub. So I can go right here to distance calculator, and right here you can like get everything I have. So yeah, and here's also another way to kind of like check out how it works and stuff. And yeah, so that's basically all there is to this. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all learned something new, and see you all in the next video.